GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast, brought to you as always by the GSMC Sports Network. Hope you guys are enjoying the show thus far. We are going to continue with our player profiles here with another guy in a new home who might not be in as appealing a situation as an Austin Eckler. And that, without further ado, is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, obviously another LA Charger on the move, as they also are trying to revamp their look. But he moves the Chicago Bears, where expectations are higher than they've ever been. They brought in their young rookie franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams, who they truly believe can launch this Chicago Bears team into contender status. They brought in Rome Odunze, another exciting young wide receiver. And they also have DJ Moore at their disposal as well. So, overall, a very strong skill position group on paper. Let's see how it translates on the field. But let's just jump right into Keenan Allen, the most intriguing of those wide receivers on that team. Throughout his career, he's accumulated 1,416.3 fantasy points. His best season was in 2017 with the LA Chargers. How time goes by. That just proves how old Keenan Allen is getting. 182.2 fantasy points in that season. Last year, however, was a really nice year for Keenan Allen, considering how kind of inconsistent the LA Chargers were. He was third in fantasy points per game. He was wide receiver 8 overall on a 31% target share. Maybe that's fate of circumstance, and maybe it's because he was definitely the standout receiver on that LA Chargers roster in terms of who they had in their wide receiver room. But it certainly speaks to the fact that he's aging very well. He had a career-high 11.5 targets per game. Again, that could just be the LA Chargers, but still worth noting. He had 8.3 receptions per game, second most in his career. And lastly, and probably most importantly, he was third in PPR points per game. So as you can see, Keenan Allen, the name of the game for him is his longevity. He's always proven that he's going to be someone who you can rely upon for years and years to come. Next year, in the new look Chicago Bears offense, he's projected to have a nice little season. 878 yards, 5 TDs for the year for a total of 119.8 fantasy points. As you can see, fantasy odds are projecting him to kind of decline. And I would say I'm in agreement with them because of the Chicago Bears offense and the big question mark surrounding it. What can they truly be with the weapons they have at their disposal? You bring in Keenan Allen, he's the experience. You bring in Rome Odunze, he's the potential. And you bring in DJ Moore, he's the establishment. That's how I view these three wide receivers in this room. At the quarterback position, you bring in hopefully your franchise QB in Caleb Williams, who truly has the potential to be, in a couple years down the road, one of the best quarterbacks in the entirety of the NFL. But the hugest caveat of all, with any team, both A, bringing rookie talent, and B, trying to build up to be a contender, is that it has to work on the field. Obviously, Keenan Allen could be a huge part of that. Like I said, he's the most experienced out of anyone in that wide receiver room, out of anyone on that offense, for that matter. So he's immediately going to be entrusted with a lot of responsibilities in getting Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze up to speed. But that also could work to his benefit. Because if he's in Caleb Williams' good graces, that means that Caleb Williams not only has a guy on this team who can help him progress, but a guy on his team who can throw the ball to early and often and not be mad about it because he's the most experienced. Whether or not Rome Odunze and DJ Moore will be mad about it is another matter altogether, but Caleb Williams has to know who he's playing with. And right now, Keenan Allen is the guy you really trust in this system. The silver lining to all this is that no matter what, all three of the Chicago Bears wide receivers are going very high in these drafts. In what order I can't necessarily tell you, but that's how deep this wide receiver room is. So no matter what, Keenan Allen will always be in that discussion to go that high. I think all of these Chicago Bears wide receivers will be as well. Here's where I'm kind of caught up. And it's not age on Keenan Allen. It's more about, is he the right experienced receiver for Caleb Williams? Because Keenan Allen kind of takes himself very seriously. He's within himself a lot. He really actually did kind of help Justin Herbert throughout his career. But he also was in a very weird culture in LA where they knew they had the personnel, but fate of circumstance led them to have Brandon Staley as their coach, and we saw that didn't work out. And so, coming to a Chicago Bears squad that's trying to build a positive culture, specifically around a guy like Caleb Williams, it's going to be a very interesting dynamic for Keenan Allen, because he's a guy who hasn't really, come out and been an aggressive person or teammate. He strikes me as kind of a mellow person. And in a locker room that's going to have a lot of different personalities, a lot of different wide receivers especially, competing for Caleb Williams' good graces to kind of get him familiarized with this offense, Keenan Allen might be the odd man out. Because A, Caleb Williams has worked out with Rome Odunze before, and he was really thrilled that Chicago went out and picked him up for him. And B, DJ Moore already is an established veteran on this team. He knows the area of Chicago. He knows the offense and what they expect out of them. So Keenan Allen is at a disadvantage in terms of getting to know Caleb Williams. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be outraged about it, because that's not Keenan Allen. But he certainly is going to grow frustrated if he doesn't get his fair share of targets. And thus, that also leads into the culture of this team. If you can build a positive culture where no one feels left out in the squad, that's a fantastic thing to establish your team on. But if you're more focused on, rapport and connections and being buddy-buddy with each other, how is that going to translate on the field? Because you can have all the hype in the world, but it doesn't mean anything if it's not going to translate. And Chicago is a city that immediately wants translation. They are hungry for success. And if Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze aren't that, then Chicago will be merciless in how they treat them. So I think it is highly vital that before anything gets decided on how targets will be split up, I think you have to get everyone in that offense involved in the culture of this team, the spirit of this team. And I don't necessarily know if that's Keenan Allen's forte, because it certainly felt like, he was kind of left out to dry in LA, to be honest with you. Brandon Staley, didn't necessarily see the potential of this offense. He didn't utilize the best of their ability, and it might have left a negative impact on Keenan Allen, and who knows what mindset he's going to bring to the Bears, but it certainly feels like, as someone who has been around the league a lot, who knows what the importance of culture is, he's going to be a huge factor in the success of this team. Whether or not he's going to be good in fantasy is another story, because he certainly has the consistency to be at least a wide receiver 10 to 15 in this league still. Because, like I said, when you think Keenan Allen, you think longevity. But this is just a different feeling that I have about these Bears. They are definitely starting to feel like a young, youthfully exciting team. And yes, Keenan Allen bringing in to kind of be the mediator of that certainly could be a good move, but Keenan Allen doesn't necessarily want to be in the eye of the storm. I think that Keenan Allen, at the end of the day, just wants to play the game of football and play it well until he decides to hang up his boots. So this season certainly is going to be a weird fantasy season for Keenan Allen, because there might be moments where you say he's still got it, but there might be moments where you say, ooh, I don't know about him. And so I would love to say he's someone who I'm confident in going in the mid-rounds because of his pedigree and name. But in terms of production, I'm going to have to be cautious about letting you guys know that, because he is definitely going to have a very weird season in Chicago Bears locker room that's getting more youthful by the minute. And so that's where I'm going to leave you guys with. That's going to do it for this segment on Keenan Allen. Coming next, we're going to be talking about one of the best tight ends in the league, but is his tight end 1 status in jeopardy? We'll have to find out. We'll be right back with that segment to conclude today's show on the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast after this break.